Today, I have my fabulous guest, Suzaita HIPOLITO, in the house from San Diego. Welcome, Suzaita. So good to have you here. I'm going to share a little bit about you.
Hi, Wendy. I'm so excited to be in South Florida all the way from San Diego.
Oh, gosh. We've had fun this week, haven't we?
Oh, boy.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I know you've worked in the same career, the same industry that I've worked in, the pharmaceutical industry. So you come from a corporate background, but you were on the research side of things, and you've done it for 2 decades. You actually got fired for the 3rd time in your career. So we definitely want to know more about that, because where you've landed on the other side is so profound. You've taken a sign from the universe that you were forced to get to explore who you are and who you are becoming. That being said, you have gone on to, you're still doing research, you're still in the pharmaceutical industry, but you are also doing other things, like you're coaching people. You have a leadership course that you have launched at the University of California, San Diego for the Alumni, which is so amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So fabulous. And so here you are with us today as one of our co-authors for Becoming You. So excited about that.
It feels surreal, actually, to see my name permanently imprinted on a book that has been published, signifying me as a published author. And I have this chapter in the book. It's called, the title of my chapter is From an Adderall Addiction to Transforming the World. And I'm still taking it all in.
What inspired you to share your story in that way? You came out. I mean, that's a lot to share. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that you're going to help by being honest and authentic and pulling back the curtain and sharing your experience.
Yeah. Truthfully, when I first started writing my chapter, I thought I was going to go in a certain direction about specifically about depression and anxiety and my party life back in the day when I used to party a lot. And I just wrote and wrote and wrote, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to see what's going to come out. And in writing, it started to turn into me. Like the energy of my writing took me to my experience of Adderall and what I had to deal with that. Being on Adderall and then deciding to cold turkey stop taking Adderall, which I would later learn is one molecule away from meth. And so I leaned into that story of my life, that chapter of my life.
So that came out. You really didn't know you were going to write about that, but that came out because a lot of people that write books and share their story, they do so, and in the process, it becomes healing for themselves. They're healing another part of themselves. Yeah. So it sounds like you had that experience.
I did. And I think it was an aspect of my life that I minimized, because it was something I never talked about. And I honestly didn't realize the significance of it until I started writing my chapter. And that's what came out. And I trusted that, okay, if this is where my pen, my typing is taking me, there must be something to it.
Yeah. Do you know the statistics by any chance of how many people are actually taking Adderall, that's a thing?
I don't know these statistics, but I do know I have a friend who is a philanthropist, and he's a multi-time CEO, and he's up in the Bay Area. And when I told him about my journey with Adderall, he said he knows of 36 people with the same kind of cocktail of taking Adderall that I did. So that's pretty substantial.
And you had a successful career.
I did.
And you were like really grinding. And was that part of why you even embarked upon a spiritual journey? How did that happen?
Well, what took me on my spiritual journey, which I didn't even know, truthfully, that I was going on any type of self-discovery journey. I just kind of jumped into it. But what took me on was that I'd been working in pharmaceutical clinical research for 18 years at that point in my life, and worked at 4 different companies, and 3 of the companies fired me. And the 3rd time that I got fired, I was like, what's going on, Suzaita? You've been fired 3 times now. You've got a pattern.
Yeah.
And I really was forced to look at myself.
So you didn't the first time. So the first time you got fired, you were probably, it's them and it's the company and I didn't want to work there anyway or something like that.
The first time I got fired, it was I was working at the company for 14 years and I wanted to leave anyway, but I didn't know how to cut the umbilical cord because I had built my entire career at that point in my life at this one company for 14 years. And I was like, I don't think I'm happy here anymore. And I didn't know, I wasn't brave enough or courageous enough to make the change because I didn't think I was worthy to go anywhere else.
Interesting. So you didn't see it coming.
I didn't see it coming. No. And what had happened was, again, I was on a project and I observed some inappropriateness of how the project was being run, and I spoke very openly about it to my manager, and then next thing you know, I was getting fired. Here's HR, and I was like, when I got fired that first time, my heart was crushed. I remember I got the news, and I was completely stunned. I was so shocked. I literally fell off my chair. I was at my home office in San Diego and I got the news and right when it came, I fell off my chair and I was on the floor and I was crying and I was in fetal position. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know. It was like somebody completely shattered my heart and my identity. And then 2 weeks later, I was like, okay, I got myself together and I made the most out of it. And I went back and I finished my undergrad, which I didn't have my undergrad back then. So I finished undergrad and decided to pursue an MBA at University of California, San Diego. So it was a blessing in disguise. It always works out, right?
When you look at life, I always talk about this like a jigsaw puzzle and all the different pieces and you don't know how they come together. Like you get fired from one position, but then it pushes you then to get another degree and then you end up going to University of California and here you are with a leadership program at University of California. I always love what Steve Jobs says is that you can't connect the dots going forward. You can only connect the dots going backwards. Have you been thinking about how that happens?
I have. At this season of my life, I am able to connect a lot of the dots and a lot of my perceived failures and, emotional pain, dramas in my life, mistakes that I made, bad choices that I made, people that I judged along the way. And I see it all as a beautiful gift that life was teaching me, showing me something. And as I look back and connect those dots, one of the things I started to do, just kind of going back a little, when I started to connect the dots, I was beating myself up a little bit. Well, that's not accurate. I was beating myself up a lot. And I was really hard on myself, because when I started to look back in my life, when I went on my self-discovery journey, I looked back on my life and I was like, gosh, I'm such a failure. What did I do with my life? Here I am in like my 40s, and what do I have to show for it? Because when I went on my self-discovery journey after being fired for the third time, I left the life that I knew in San Diego. I gave up. I decided I didn't want a six-figure income. I decided I wanted to leave corporate. I decided to get rid of my car, my apartment, and my two furry little babies, and just go figure out my life. And I didn't even know what that meant then. And so in that process, because literally I was confronting so many things about my past, that I was judging myself pretty harshly along the way. And then in that journey, I ended up experiencing what I later would learn is called the dark night of the soul, which was probably one of the lowest points of my life.
Yeah, that happens for a lot of people. I know that happened for me. It was that dark night of the soul that actually put me on the path. I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be having the conversation. The book Becoming You was born out of that. And that the 15 authors that share stories, interesting but unique. Your story that somebody else is going to say, I got fired, maybe not 3 times, maybe it was 5 times, and that being said, here you are. I love the conversation because this week you are in town and we've had a conference and a book launch and all of the things. And I love that you're looking back to even a year ago or 6 months ago and all these different versions of yourself, how they're evolving. Share with us what you see in Becoming You, what that looks like from this point going forward.
Oh. Let me pause for a moment and take in that question. It's a big question. It's a big question because I never thought of myself as being a published author, ending up in a book. I never, maybe I had a glimpse of me being on stage, just because that's kind of what you lean into when you are, when you come across like celebrities and artists that you see on stage.
And you also see those shows like, Dancing with the Stars and all that. Let me ask you, because you said you didn't see yourself becoming an author.
Yeah.
And you and I know each other for a few years. And I asked you if you wanted to be part of the book because I saw it. Like I saw the vision. Isn't it true that we can hold a vision for somebody before they actually have the vision for themselves? And in the coaching field, that's what we do. That's what I do. Like you actually then you pour over somebody the vision, and then it's a matter of whether they say that that's a yes or that's a no.
Right.
And you obviously said yes. But walk us through that process a little bit.
Well, Wendy, when you and I first met, one of the things that struck me with the beginning of us getting to know each other was you said something to me that nobody in my life had ever said to me. You said to me, you're really, really multi-talented and you're really, really smart. Like those were your words. And you said it with such power. And I was like, what? And that was something nobody in my life had ever said to me that way and acknowledged me the way that you did. And then you also said, I'm going to give you 2 years, Suzaita, and stuff is gonna start happening for you. And that really made a mark on me because you were the first person to see me, like to believe in me in something. And so that just made such an emotional imprint on me. And then fast forward to almost 2 years later, and Becoming You. When you approached me about Becoming You, it was literally 2 months after I had accepted to develop a leadership program with the University of California, San Diego, UCSD. And that program that I developed, I called Becoming You.
You can't make that stuff up.
Like, you can't make that up. And so when you came to me and asked me about becoming an author for Becoming You, I think I was in denial about it, to be honest, because how could something that good, that synchronistic happen to me? And so it took me, as you know, I sat on it for several weeks before I said yes.
Yeah, you weren't a immediate yes.
I was not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that synchronicity I made a list of like why I should do the book and why I should not do the book, and you had suggested this. And I can't remember exactly what I wrote, but what I wrote reinforced why I needed to be a yes to Becoming You. And so now here I am, and I end up writing about the Adderall, my Adderall addiction, and what that did to me for many years. So, yeah.
You were so called. You were so called. I knew it when I met you, when we met online first. We met virtually, and the world has completely changed. And I know that someone is listening right now to your message, and they can hear in the sound of your voice, the energy of your voice, that if it's possible for Suzaita, then it's possible for me, especially when you share your vulnerability and the power of the vulnerability. And that is one of the things that was really important to us in the selection process of the book, because that's what it represents, that anything and everything is possible, even if you don't believe in yourself. Even if you are 40 or 50 or 60 or 70, it really doesn't matter. As long as you don't believe in yourself, as long as somebody else believes in you, then it can happen. Because if somebody else believes in you and they believe in you strong enough, that the overflow, that it can be strong enough that it overflows into the other person, and then everybody elevates together. That's the philosophy of Becoming You, a world where together we all get to become the true versions of ourselves, and then collectively, in community, through collaboration, that we can change the world, that we can be the change that we want to see in the world. But we can't do it by ourselves. And it's important that the way that you share your story, your backstory, the way you share that is so powerful. Suzaita, my prediction for you is saying it here now. 2 years from this date, I see that was whatever it was, a 10X or, whatever percentage X that was, to higher and higher ground and influencing more and more people. My prediction for you is 2 years from now, it's 100-fold. I believe this about you. I see it. I know it, that you are a powerful, authentic leader that is completely heart-centered and smart and has tactical and practical information that a lot of people need to know. Where can people find you?
Wow, Wendy, that's a pretty amazing declaration. I received that. And people can find me on Instagram, Suzaita HIPOLITO.
We'll have the links below in the show notes.
Yes, and also on LinkedIn, Suzaita HIPOLITO.
That's where she spends a lot of time, so definitely find her on LinkedIn.
And I'm still playing with my social media. And if you want to connect, please find me there. And also, if you're someone who has been labeled or diagnosed with ADHD and you're taking something to manage that, please read my chapter, because could be something in it that you read that can help awaken something within you that you're not yet tuned into. That could be a game changer for how you navigate that label and the rest of your life.
I always part asking my guests this one question, although it has a different variation for each guest. You come from the pharma industry. You get to design and create the marquee of one of the largest teaching hospitals in this country. What is that one liner that you put on that marquee?
The one liner to put on that marquee. I would say believe. Believe, because when I started to believe in myself, that's when every area of my life started to shift. And and what we experience of ourselves, life and others, comes from belief. It's what we believe life is about. It's what we believe who we are about. It's what we believe who we stand for. It's what we believe in what is going to make the biggest difference for us and others and in the world. So I would say
I love
believe.
it. Big, bold letters, the marquee, one of the largest hospitals and teaching institutions in our country. So when people are walking in that doorway, they're looking at that marquee. They believe in their health. They believe in their healing. They believe in their transformation, that they believe that it is possible, and that they own every part of who they are. Thank you so much, Suzaita, for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I love you, and you're a rock star.
This was amazing. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you for believing in me. Cheers.
Cheers. Here at Becoming You, we are all about self-image, identity, reinventing yourself in every area of your life. And number one is your health. I think everybody would agree with that. Fitness is so important, and it gets confusing out there. There's so many different options. Strength training, weight training is so critically important to become the best version of yourself. It has a spillover into every area of your life. Locally, here in South Florida, we have Just Lift Studios as one of our premier sponsors. This gym is first, personally, my gym. And the reason why I love it so much, I can't even call it a gym. It is a one-stop shop for your health and well-being. I used to have to decide, am I going to spend my time in the morning with my personal growth, or am I going to make it in to do my workout? Now I have found a way to combine them both in such a short period of time. For me, if I can knock it out in an hour, that is a win-win-win. At Just Lift Studios, that's it. You walk in, they do this motivational talk before you even get started. They have a theme every month. I get so psyched. I get so jazzed. They talk about your morning routine. They talk about visualization. They talk about all the things to becoming the best version of yourself. And then you go from the mindset piece into the physical. You do weight training. It's personalized. It's one-on-one in a group setting, every body type, every stage of life, young, it doesn't matter, any age, older, every age bracket. I just love the studio, and they have a special gift for you. When you use the code, which is, you guessed it, Becoming You, you get a free pass to try out the studio. And when you purchase a 10-session package, you get 2 free sessions. So thank you so much to Just Lift Studios. We love you.